That's a hell of a way to end the night. It's one of the best beats Travis Scott ever produced, even though he didn't make it. Anyway, man, I've recorded about 5 to 10 videos discussing J. Cole's new moves before the fall off, from this 2-track 2 to all the way to the Birthday Blizzard freestyles. And man, I just can't keep up with the narratives, man. I can't keep up with it. First of all, I'm sorry, man. I'm not even gonna try to clickbait or anything with this. I'm just gonna out and say it, man. And no more scripts, no more like long, elaborate arguments. It just is what it is. I don't care that J. Cole apologized anymore, and not because, oh, he's rapping so good that I have to ignore it, but there's just some fundamental things, and I don't know if it's 2 years of maturity or just, I don't know what it is, but I've watched every negative video, every negative opinion about J. Cole that I once agreed with, and it sounds like nonsense to me now. It's like, I don't know what happened. It's like, a switch just flipped. I'm like, bro, all of these niggas are tripping. Like, J. Cole, like, he never did anything wrong. Seriously, think about, okay, so I'm going to try to touch on the main talking points that need to be addressed, and all of the other extra stuff, I'm just going to drop it. Because if you are dead set on J. Cole betrayed hip-hop because he apologized, there's nothing I'm ever going to be able to do to change your mind, and I don't really care to change your mind, because I already know how. First of all, that is the main thing that needs to be addressed. J. Cole did not betray hip-hop by not rapping against Kendrick and or Drake in that battle. Because here's the thing, right? We talk about hip-hop, battling is core to hip-hop, and it is. But people are ignoring the different types of like competition that exists within hip-hop. And the fact that betraying, it would have been more egregious to betray a legitimate friendship that you have with a friend for the sake of a fabricated beef, because that's what that was. That was not a showing of lyrical skill. Now, when J. Cole apologized and he said the world wanted to see blood, we were all like, yo, nobody wanted to see this turn into some Pac and Big type shit. And that's exactly what proves the point that I'm trying to make now. The fact that we can reference quickly that Pac and Big was too far, the fact that we can even at points reference how Nas and Jay-Z, there was maybe not an apology to Nas, but apologizing for some of the things that were said because his mom said he went too far. Jay-Z's mom said he took it too far. The fact that with Drake and Kendrick, we're still having discussions about this 2 years later. We'll be having discussions about it 20 years from now. But it ended with legal allegations being levied toward one another, lawsuits. And I know people are going to say, well, that's just Drake being Drake. But no, at the end of the day, there was fallout. There was public fallout, brand damage, reputational damage that occurred. And, you know, Spotify redoing things with how it tracks us, the Billboard charts remaking rules and stuff. I feel like that all has something to do with the public fallout and just the implications of public rap battles. And so, you know, do I think J. Cole was scared of Kendrick? Do I think he was scared to rap with Kendrick? At first, that's what I thought. But I've come to realize that if he dropped out of that beef for any reason other than being afraid to rap against Kendrick, I have absolutely no problem with it. And in fact, and at this point, with all of the evidence that's in front of me now that I'm looking at clearly, it makes no sense to think he was scared to rap with Kendrick. Okay, because J. Cole is somebody who has collaborated with every single, and people, I've heard people say he picks and chooses his battles, but if he's picking and choosing his battles, he's picked every fucking body to battle against. I mean, to rap on a song with, including Kendrick himself, who people say he is afraid of or was afraid of. If he was afraid of Kendrick, why is he rapping on Black Friday? Directly comparing his music to Kendrick's. Why was he trying to do a collaboration album with the man? They have a ton of collaborations with one another. He's not scared to rap on a song with Kendrick. And I believe solely, genuinely, if this was a battle of lyrical skill and ability, he wouldn't have backed out. I do think that two things can be true. That one, he saw that the reception of the song wasn't what people wanted, or that he thought that he wasn't proud of the song And I don't believe that he believed the things that he said in the song. And that's why he had to say, look, man, this is goofy because I don't even feel inspired to diss Kendrick. And this is not the right way to go about it. And I think that there's more evidence to show that he feels the way about Kendrick that he said in his apology versus he felt this way about Kendrick in 7 Minute Drill and now he's just trying to save face. Because there's way more evidence showing that he really doesn't feel a type of way about Kendrick. Even if Kendrick felt a type of way about him for that song. And that's the other thing. I think that people really are reaching with all the J. Cole has been sending subs to Kendrick. And Birthday Blizzard is exhibit A of that. Because depending on who you want a song to be about, oh, J. Cole's talking about Drake. Oh, no, J. Cole's talking about Kendrick. Oh, no, he's talking about Joey Badass. Wale, Kanye, NBA Youngboy, Lil Durk. Anybody that you can associate with the guy, he's dissing them all of a sudden. But he's really not. He's really just rapping. And he's saying things that he doesn't like about the state of the rap game. And it probably applies to a lot of people. So that's number one, is that his apology really did look weak in the moment. The optics were very bad because it's like, yo, Kendrick is dissing you, bro. But when you take a step back and you really just... It makes no sense, bro. There wasn't... Like, even if you want to go there, that would mean, even though there's a lack of a diss song / apology, that would mean that 15 years ago, when Drake was throwing subs at Kendrick and Kendrick didn't respond, that made him weak, and vice versa, and Drake didn't respond, that made them weak. There's not 15 years of disagreements and subs between Cole and Kendrick. So why would that escalate to a battle in that light? The only thing that they need to do is collaborate with each other. Now, here's the point. Competition in hip-hop exists in many different forms, and J. Cole has never shied away from competition in hip-hop in any way that you can look at other than not engaging in a beef with somebody who he considered to be a friend. Making a song and taking it back immediately, yes, that was a misstep. That looks bad. But it doesn't take away from his spot in hip-hop, considering the fact that it's like, yo, I am apologizing for taking something personal that I probably didn't need to take personally. So anyway, ciphers, right? Ciphers, freestyles, dropping albums or mixtapes on the same date, competing. J. Cole is a guy who, before he had anything close to what people consider to be a classic, he dropped the album. He moved the date to the same day as Kanye West, who was at the peak of his powers. Last thing we heard from him was Dark Fantasy, Watch the Throne, Cruel Summer, on a perfect streak. And J. Cole said, yeah, I want parts of that. I want to make sure that I drop on the same day as him to see who can outsell who. That doesn't look or sound like fear. And like I said, the people that he's rapped with, Benny the Butcher, Ab-Soul, Daylight, Royce the 5'9", Kendrick Lamar himself, he's rapped with Drake, he's rapped with Rhapsody, he's rapped with everybody. And then he's challenged himself to get on songs with people who are stylistically a lot different from him, but represent a side of hip-hop that he feels inclined to or respects or is Southern, like trap artists, 21 Savage, Gucci Mane. He's not from the South, but like Durk, T Grizzly, and he's gotten on all those songs, and those songs move the needle for those guys, which is pretty impressive considering the fact that Cole's a conscious artist for the most part. Is that something that we've seen from Kendrick Lamar? And I don't want to make this a comparison video, but it's just not something we've seen to that extent with Kendrick. So that is worth mentioning, right? I want to say I see a lot of people with narratives about J. Cole that I don't really agree with. And one of the major ones is that he's a really good artist, but what has he done to move the needle, to change the game, and blah, 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 right? First of all, that's unfair criticism, and it's not really valid criticism, because you could take exactly what you're saying about J. Cole and just apply it to any other rapper, and it would make sense. If I look at each and every one of Kendrick Lamar's albums or Drake's albums or anybody that J. Cole is supposed to be compared to, I could make arguments that nothing that they're doing is brand new. It's been done before by somebody else. And then you would just be diminishing that person's work based on some random narrative that it's just hating, pretty much. I know people don't like that term, but you're just hating. Or it's just a narrative that's stuck, that you say you're not even your own original thought. It's somebody else's opinion from some blog back in the 2010s. Because I used to see these type of talks about J. Cole all the time. And it sticks for whatever reason. But I want to use an example, a parallel between J. Cole being somebody who's never added to the game. He's perfected it, he's mastered it, but he never added or changed the game in any way. Let's apply that same logic to a basketball player named Kobe Bryant. A lot of people say Kobe wanted to be like Mike, and he's the closest thing to Mike. But when you look at what did Kobe add to the game, and this is not logic that I agree with, but it is something that people who don't like Kobe use against him. They say, oh, he just copied Jordan's moves. He doesn't have any finals moments. He won 3 championships with Shaq, but he was the second banana for the whole time, right? So they're putting him in the shadow of somebody else, the shadow of Shaq, the shadow of LeBron's era. He didn't change the game like Steph. He wasn't as influential as Iverson. He just did what he was supposed to do. He worked harder than everybody else. He had the Mamba mentality, but he didn't do anything to really shift the game, to change the game. He was just the closest thing to Mike. But in the case of Kobe, a lot of people have him in their top 2 all time. A lot of people have them as their GOAT. And regardless of how you feel about him, you're not taken seriously as a basketball fan if you don't have him in your top 10, in my opinion. Definitely if you don't have him in your top 15. And when you think of it that way, can't you say J. Cole is similar to Kobe in the sense of the Mamba mentality? Who's worked harder than this man? I don't think there's anybody right now who's saying that J. Cole today isn't at least more technically skilled than he was 15 years ago. He's the one guy in hip-hop history that I can think of who sounds better at what he's calling in his 40s and what he's calling his swan song. He sounds like he's in better form today than what he sounded like in his peak with his most commercially successful album, Forest Hills Drive. It's nowhere near the level of technical rapping ability that he's displaying right now. I think his ideas and his subject matter was a little bit better in his real prime, but I can't deny that the man has worked harder than anybody, and to the point that what he's doing right now can be compared to Drake's prime, can be compared to Kendrick's prime, and can be compared to his own prime. That's unique. So I don't understand when people say that he hasn't done anything, or he's just a clone, a Nas or a Jay-Z or an Eminem clone. No, man, it's more than that. It's deeper than that. Y'all gonna put some respect on this man's name. And I just think that, damn it, man, I'm losing my train of thought. Hold on. I just think that a lot of people are contradicting themselves, especially Kendrick fans, because what I feel is that they want the narrative to remain that J. Cole was scared of their boogeyman to the point that when he even thought about dissing him, he had to back down and apologize and pray to God on stage in front of his fans and embarrass himself. They want that to be the narrative. They don't want to give credence to the idea that, hey, it's actually, everything he said is actually true. He's not saving face and making excuses. He's actually just exposing the truth about the matter, is that he got hyped up for whatever reason to diss somebody that he actually considered to be a friend, thought that it was, he used tactics that were classic diss battle rap tactics. He took from Takeover. He took from, I think, he took some of Jay-Z's angles from Takeover against Nas. He insulted his discography, and then when he really reflected on it, it's like, I don't really believe this stuff. And I thought people would go for this because it seemed like this is what they wanted to hear. And so I made this diss track, and people didn't go for it. And I really wasn't inspired to do this. And so now, how do I walk this back? Because if Kendrick responds to these tracks and takes a similar angle and makes it personal, now he's in a hole because he has to stand on something that he didn't even really believe in. He has to try to make another song that stems from a concept that he wasn't even convicted of himself and he wasn't inspired to do it. And then, as all of us know, this is really a 15-year dispute that's been brewing between two people that he considered to be friends, even though they're not all mutual friends, even though they can't all hang out with each other. He still has his own personal relationship with each of them, independent of each other. So it's like, I don't want to pick a side. I don't want to pick a side between these guys. I don't really care about this. This is not my battle. And that's pretty much all there was to it. So I don't, he's forgiven in my eyes. I don't even see why I was mad. Even when I really try to think about it, it's like the only reason that I was mad is because I really thought he made me look stupid by basically telling the world he's scared of Kendrick and he's scared to rap against Kendrick. But it's just so evident that that's not the case. And at the end of the day, if Kendrick feels insulted or slighted by J. Cole, he has now and has always had the opportunity to just drop a diss track on J. Cole. J. Cole can't control how Kendrick feels and can't control how Kendrick takes a song. So there's absolutely no reason for him to hold his tongue if he, like you guys, thinks J. Cole is dissing him. So honestly, anything contrary to that is actually just pussy on Kendrick's part. So it's just, it is what it is, man. The fall off is coming out. I'm definitely not upset with J. Cole anymore. And we're going to see what happens. Probably album of the year.